money does not solve every problem. The behaviors she is instilling in her children are going to have real life consequences on them years down the road, even into adulthood. Hello everybody, my name is Marissa. I'm a certified personal trainer and registered dietitian, and today we are going to be talking about the Kardashians as if they aren't discussed enough on the internet already. The Kardashian and Jenner families have always been huge proponents of diet culture and have gone as far as to promote appetite-suppressing lollipops and detox teas to their hundreds of millions of Instagram followers. Now, an article on my Facebook feed, Meta, I don't know when I'll ever get used to saying that, but whatever. An article popped up by Delish titled, "Here's what the Kardashian and Jenner kids actually eat in a day." And my first thought was, this can't be good. The specific sister I want to talk about in this video is Kourtney, who has publicly denounced gluten, dairy, and follows a strict vegan diet. I went down a little rabbit hole with this and ended up finding an interview from a month back from the Wall Street Journal that Kourtney was featured in, where she talks about her wellness habits and goes into some detail about her children's diets as well, specifically her son Mason. I'm a little annoyed that I had to pay to read this article, but let's dive in and read it together. Oh, and after that, we'll go over a couple of other things I found. Now, obviously, this isn't the entire article front to back because not all of it is relevant to what I'll be talking about in the video, so I cut it down a little bit and we're just going to talk about the highlights. Despite the West Coast summer heat, reality star and entrepreneur Kourtney Kardashian Barker is sipping from a piping hot cup of matcha green tea, which I just had actually, in her office in Calabasas, California. Do you want to know a fun fact about me? I can sleep at any time. I can have a cup of coffee and take a nap. The 43-year-old mother of 3 says, tucking her shoulder-length black hair behind her ear. Is it her superpower? Yes, it is, she says, and Kim has the same one. I hate to break it to you, that's not a superpower, that's called caffeine tolerance. Also, it takes about 30 to 60 minutes for the effects of caffeine to kick in, so it's really not that impressive anyways. This fall, Kardashian Barker plans to utilize the family's business's mix of pop culture relevance, self-education, and moxie to make her mark on the world of wellness. Later this month, she launches Lemmy, a line of all-natural edible supplements with names like Lemmy Chill. Ingredients include ashwagandha, lemon balm, passion flower, and goji berry. All good things. I'm not discrediting that. Lemmy Focus, cognizin, citicoline, I've never heard of that before, organic lion's mane mushroom, organic MTCs, and vitamin B12, and Lemmy Matcha, organic matcha, B12, and CoQ10. Kardashian Barker has been cooking up the brand for years. She says, when I had Mason is really when I started my wellness journey. He's very smart. He'll tell me a person was bad because they let me have Cheetos. So he's already being raised to judge others for their food habits and food choices. I know this because I was also a child with an extremely health-conscious mother, or health-conscious parents in general, I guess. But I got to a point, specifically in high school, where if I saw somebody eating like something pre-packaged or processed that would be maybe considered a junk food, I would actually judge them for it. It took years of unlearning and actual education through my degree to realize that these foods aren't necessarily bad, especially in moderation, and that we shouldn't be judgmental of other people's food choices, especially when it comes to cost. We cannot judge somebody for not eating all natural, wild-caught fish, organic, non-GMO, when we have different income brackets in the United States, and some people's budgets allow for them and some don't. She spent 5 years working with nutrition professors, naturopathic practitioners, and medical doctors to create the formulations for Lemmy. Interesting how registered dietitian didn't pop up in that list. The company's manufacturing partner is certified by NSF, meets the FDA's current good manufacturing practice regulations. That is a good thing, gotta admit. I'm glad that they took that step, so that you can know, if you do end up buying these products, that what's in them is actually what's in them. Here's where it gets crazy. In recent years, she says she has taken up to 30 supplements a day. They've included vitamin D, zinc, methylfolate, and more. She uses them when she feels tired, angry, or anxious. And this is just like the epitome of wellness culture. People thinking that they have to be taking 30 plus supplements a day. It's crazy to me. It honestly blows my mind because of how expensive 30 plus supplements a day would be. Obviously not to her, but to the average consumer who might look up to her and think, oh my gosh, I should be supplementing just as much if I want to look like her and if I want to be healthy, when that's really not the case. She is doing a backwards diet of like what you should normally be doing to get your nutrients, okay? So hear me out with this. What I see happening is she is restricting food groups, okay? Animal products and gluten. And because she's taking out those two huge components of a healthy diet, she has to supplement all of the individual nutrients she's taking out. But for what? Just eat a healthful, balanced diet. If you want to eat all organic, that's fine. It's not going to hurt. But why deprive yourself of all animal products and gluten-containing foods just to have all of those supplements a day? It makes no sense to me. And I hope anybody who's watching this knows that taking 30 supplements a day is not normal, especially for someone that's generally healthy. If she just ate more food and didn't restrict herself of important food groups, that would be completely different. When she was developing her own brand, she made it a priority to use non-GMO, vegan, gluten-free, gelatin-free, which it's a little redundant to say vegan and gelatin-free, that don't include corn syrup, artificial flavors, colors, or sweeteners, and she had all the formulations. Okay, this is also where it gets crazy. And she had all the formulas muscle tested, an alternative medicine practice that aims to locate weaknesses in the body and to diagnose food allergies and other deficiencies on herself. Muscle testing is controversial in the medical community, which cites a lack of evidence and its efficacy. Blood work is generally the best way to assess nutrient status, says Katie Kassane, a Colorado-based registered dietitian and nutritionist. Thank you! I am so glad we got some form of representation in this article, even though that's literally it. Now, let's move on to the interview component. A guy named Derek asked her, was wellness part of your life when you were growing up? This is very interesting to note because a lot of the time when adults are resembling this kind of health fanatic behavior, it's usually because of something from their childhood. Could have been a big health scare in the family, that their parents were also just as health conscious. It was the 80s. We had really unhealthy food in our house. Everyone ate chips and Lunchables and the animal cookies that were pink and white with sprinkles. So did I. Hey, we can relate there. But there was one health food store in LA. It was called Mr. Gooch's. That's funny. I'm not gonna say why. And when I would go to friends' houses that had Mrs. Gooch's snacks, I would get excited because they tasted so different from the snacks I had at my house. But I think I was always conscious in high school. That's usually where it all starts, with our health and body image, so makes sense. She said she always worked out. My mom and Caitlin would do these infomercials that sold fitness equipment. Kim and I would do Taibo and workout classes. That stuck with me when I went off to college. Okay, so it looks like she was generally a health conscious person growing up. Was there a person who made you pay more attention to it when you were older? Kourtney says, once I had kids was when I really bumped it up and started taking it more seriously. Nicole Richie really helped. She was one of my only friends who had kids before I did. She was like, you have to buy this one book, Super Baby Food, and it was all about making your own baby food. It taught me about organic products, and honestly, it changed my life on how I started eating. It was a snowball effect. You can't unlearn information. By the time I was pregnant with Penelope, I was fully in it and doing different kinds of cleanses. Like she did a panchakarma cleanse. All of these different things that I was getting really into changed my life down to home cleaning products. Okay, and then she gets into this Ayurvedic panchakarma cleanse, which she says she's going to do again because Derek asked what's the most extreme thing you've done in your wellness journey. I don't watch Keeping Up with the Kardashians. I don't even know if it's called that anymore. Apparently in the show, they did this. So you might know what I'm talking about if you watch the show. And it's very restrictive. No sex, no caffeine, no alcohol, no sugar. You've got to eat really clean, strict diet, and you do it for 5 days. The no caffeine thing must be hard for her, considering her dependence on it. No alcohol. I'm always behind. We don't need it. No sugar, that's extreme. And no sex is really surprising because doing the deed actually has a lot of health benefits, especially towards fertility. And I know that's something that she really was focused on in the past, like optimizing her fertility. So not doing it. Also, 5 days isn't that long, but that is dependent on who you ask, I guess. Anyway, I'm getting off topic here. Derek says, what are the supposed medical benefits of depriving yourself of these things? Kourtney says, it's to reset your body. You do all of that and it's cleansing out the toxins from your tissues. There's nothing to actually prove that that is happening. You go into this spa and do treatments every day for 4 hours. Everything is very ritualistic and has a purpose, and it's fascinating. I was doing it mostly for cleansing my body in preparation to hopefully have a baby. There are so many other amazing habits you can adopt to boost your fertility, care for your hormones, and put them into balance. This, I would not say, is one of them. Derek said, you talked on the show about having more children with your husband. How are things going with that? She said she started an IVF journey but stopped. It was a lot. Yes, IVF treatment is a lot. She took a break, which I respect. Now, Derek asks, is it hard to not have caffeine, alcohol, not eat sugar, and not have sex? Kourtney says, yeah, kind of, but the reward on the other side, when you can't have something and then you can have it, right? It's like I can't wait for all the obvious things, but then I also like the simplest things, like I can't wait to have caffeine. It's definitely about moderation and being kind to yourself. If I'm going to Cabo, I definitely am drinking margaritas and having chips and guacamole. It's all about balance. She's contradicting herself a lot in this. How she could say that, but then be so extreme, right? A balance is not consuming 30 supplements a day. A balance is not going 100% vegan and gluten-free. Unless there's like actual health implications for someone to do that. But I'm speaking in terms of the general healthy population. This one's interesting. Your sister Kim told the New York Times she would eat poop if it'd make her look younger. Kourtney said, I would not do that. That's where the line is. Okay, yeah, I guess at least she has some boundaries. Okay, this is also where it gets good. Why are you starting Lemmy with gummies? He asks. I take a lot of gummies. I keep a little glass jar next to my bed filled with them. When I was taking 30 supplements a day, they weren't gummies. It wasn't an enjoyable thing. I'm like, I cannot wait to take my gummies. Hold up, Sam. Food is meant to be enjoyed. So why not get all those wonderful nutrients that you're getting in your supplements in your food? It will be such a more enjoyable experience. Chances are you'll be eating more calories. You'll also have more energy, which means you also might need less caffeine and less supplements. Funny how it all goes full circle, right? I usually take them after I eat something. I like knowing that I'm taking something that's clean, has good for me ingredients, and has a purpose. I bet she has a sweet tooth. And taking gummies is a way to curb the sweet tooth cravings without going for, a traditional candy or gummy or whatever she would usually opt for in those cases. Now, this is really interesting too. Derek asks, what was Lemmy's product research? You'd think with all the money that she has, she would be able to do very substantial, solid, detailed research, hire the right people to get it done, actually get it tested in a lab, and do clinical trials and all of these great things that could really solidify the efficacy of her supplements, right? My process with a new product is take it to my natural doctor and he would muscle test me with it. I would hold the product in my hand and he would see how it reacts to my body. Some things test well, but most of the time, things didn't test well on me. I found it so interesting when he would say, oh, it's because they're using corn or corn syrup, or it's genetically modified. So her product research is literally just her holding something in her hand. No seeing the long-term health benefits after having a control group. and then testing people with it and seeing long-term if it's going to make a difference for X, Y, and Z, like energy, immunity, digestive health, like things like that. There's so much she could have done with this. Matcha is probably my favorite gummy. It has B12. It's not like jittery caffeine energy. Matcha naturally has caffeine, so it's not caffeine free, but it's like the tiniest bit of caffeine. The B12 and the coenzyme Q10 give you that sustained energy. You wanna know what else would? Calories. Lots of B vitamins, not just B12, all of the B vitamins. I feel really passionate about the ingredients and the combinations. You know what, like when she was talking about ashwagandha, lion's mane, like all those things, go for it, but do some testing on your products, please. Derek asks, how's your health now? Kourtney says, my health is amazing. I love to get blood work and analyze it and send it to my doctors and make sure I'm all good, frequently, as often as possible, every 3 months maybe. It's so obsessive, so obsessed with health that it becomes unhealthy. We have to think like, yes, she may be physically healthy based off of lab work, but then what about her mental health? Mental health, physical health, spiritual health, they all work together in synergy. And when one thing is off, a lot of bad things can happen. Like if you think about it, if she is constantly stressing and just being so hyper-focused and health obsessed, that is going to manifest physically in the form of stress, which becomes inflammation, which is something she's trying to clearly avoid. So it's like this, it's literally a snowball effect. So I just really hope that maybe she goes to therapy about this. This is not a healthy relationship with food and your body and your health, even though it may seem like it when you're that person. I know this because I have a family member that suffers from this as well. And I've seen the mental and physical toll firsthand. Derek says, is there anything that you're looking out for specifically? She says, honestly, nothing. I know when I feel my best, that's when I'm working out at least 5 days a week and eating as cleanly as I can, which means mostly eating at home. And then Derek says, thinking of your childhood of potato chips and Lunchables, do you think your kids are deprived of something by not letting them have it? Valid question, right? Kourtney gives an example. Today, I was having my one-on-one time with my son Mason, and he said, Mom, I need McDonald's French fries today, please. It's been a year since I've had it. I was like, today's not the day, sorry. Just completely dismissing his obvious cravings. Ugh. Like, money does not solve every problem. The behaviors she is instilling in her children are going to have real-life consequences on them years down the road, even into adulthood. I have seen videos of how she practices herself a vegan and gluten-free diet, but she also has her kids do the same thing. There are physical, mental, and social impacts that restriction like this can have on a child. As far as the physical impacts, it really depends on if she is having them supplement as well, but having a kid take that many supplements can be really taxing, and they often will not stick to it. So having them be that restricted when they don't have health problems could actually do more harm than good. If they end up with nutrient deficiencies, it can stunt growth, it can harm a young girl's reproductive health, immunity. There are so many things that taking out multiple food groups from a young child's diet can have an effect on. Of course, the mental aspect is there too. Children who are restricted like this in early childhood are more likely to develop negative body image, disordered eating, something as severe as an eating disorder. And lastly, the social aspect is there as well. There is a video that I'm going to show you right now that you are going to be flabbergasted if you have not seen it already. But this goes to show you some of the social implications this kind of restriction can have when a kid is just growing up, wants to have fun with their life, wants to have fun with their food. So not only is this causing a conflict between these two sisters, it comes down to having their kids have separate birthday parties. Food is meant to be enjoyed, and candy comes along in that category. I ate so much candy as a kid, I ended up fine. Everyone I know, you know, Halloween is right around the corner. Things like that are so deeply rooted in our society to where like Having a Candyland themed party without candy for a young child is going to be so disappointing. So it does deprive them of a social aspect as well, and that's just one of many examples. And today she has a ban on junk food and GMOs in her household. She does not allow her kids to eat dairy or gluten-containing foods. It does seem, however, that she has loosened the reins since getting into a relationship with Travis Barker. So I am hoping that having another influence in the household will help her realize, like, okay, maybe it's okay that my kids have a hamburger every once in a while with a regular wheat bun. I am going to leave some research in the description if you want to dig into this a little bit more, the negative effects that this type of restriction can have on children. One quote I did want to pull before I left was from a Cambridge article showing the risks and benefits of vegan and vegetarian diets in children. It states that the risks of nutritional deficiencies and adverse consequences lie with vegan children in particular, as opposed to vegetarian children, especially younger children. And when guidance, monitoring, and supplementation are inadequate or inconsistent, which it often is with children taking supplements, we already talked about this, while vegan diets are technically feasible, the successful provision of a nutritionally complete vegan diet for a child requires substantial commitment, expert guidance, planning, resources, supervision, and supplementation. It can be a lot on a family. And luckily for them, they are in a better financial position to where the kids could get the guidance they need, but this should by no means be the standard for children in America or children anywhere. Parents can instill healthy habits in their children without depriving them of anything. One good way to do that is by leveling the playing field. Candy can be on the same level as vegetables. If we don't tell them that this food is good, this food is bad, we're starting to take away that feeling of guilt or fear associated with certain foods, or that rebellion of, oh, this food is bad, so I'm gonna sneak some instead of just having it openly as a dessert. There's so much parents can do to start teaching their children healthy nutrition habits without going to this extreme that Kourtney has. Overall, I hope you found all of this very interesting. I just wanted to give a little bit of my perspective on the whole subject. It is absolutely one thing if a parent is embarking on a vegan diet, a gluten-free diet, what have you, on their own for their own personal health journey. But to put that on their children is unhealthy, especially when their children are of growing age where they need an abundance of calories and the proper micronutrients too to grow and develop. Now, obviously, it's one thing if you discover that your child has something like celiac disease and they have to be on a strict gluten-free diet to prevent their symptoms and improve their health. But for a healthy child to not be able to eat any animal products and any wheat, rye, or barley, which is a lot of the grains that we have available to us, is just not okay. I guarantee you, if Kourtney ate more gluten-containing foods or even just more grains in general, she would be better off. Grains are an excellent source of B vitamins that are important in the metabolism of energy. Carbohydrates are our body's preferred fuel source. When you're not eating as many carbs, because I did gluten-free. Trust me, if you haven't seen my low FODMAP video, go watch them because I had to go gluten-free for an entire summer. And because of that, I ended up eating way less carbs overall because a lot of the foods like breads and pastas, I just wasn't fitting into my diet because it was tricky to always do gluten-free bread, which sucks, by the way. I hate gluten-free bread. I a lot of the times didn't even want gluten-free pasta, so I was just eating way less carbs overall, which meant I was not getting that much energy from carbohydrates themselves, and I also wasn't getting all of the B vitamins if I had not made sure I was supplementing and getting it through other foods like my animal products and my vegetables. I managed to skate by without any deficiencies because I was strategic in that way. I really hope with all of the research that she's put into her wellness brand, Lemmy, as well as her blog, Poosh, because she has an entire wellness blog as well. She has done her due diligence in looking into her own diet and making sure that she doesn't have any inadequacies. I'm glad she gets blood work done. I do think every 3 months is a bit excessive when she doesn't have any medical conditions. I hope that she's also doing the proper research that she needs for her children to grow and thrive. So with all that being said, I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, week, night, whenever you are watching this.